Once upon a time, in the Garden of Eden, there stood a majestic tree whose branches reached towards the heavens as if to touch the stars. This tree was known as the Tree of Knowledge, and it was said that anyone who tasted its fruit would gain the wisdom of the ages. Among all the inhabitants of the garden, there was a man, Adam, and a woman, Eve. They lived in harmony with nature, guided by the benevolent voice of the Creator. One day, tempted by the promise of knowledge, they picked and ate the forbidden fruit. The world around them transformed instantly. They became aware of their nakedness, the complexity of their thoughts, and the consequences of their actions. The garden, once a place of purity and innocence, now reflected the duality of their existence, good and evil, light and darkness, life and death. Cast out of the garden, Adam and Eve had to face an unknown world filled with challenges and trials. But with these trials came growth. They learned to cultivate the land, build shelter, and overcome obstacles. Their love and faith were tested, but they persevered, carried by the hope of a better future for themselves and their descendants. Adam and Eve, having left the Garden of Eden, found themselves in a new world full of mysteries and wonders. They had lost the immortality and perfection of the garden, but they had gained knowledge and the freedom to choose their own path. In time, they had children, and with them, the promise of a new beginning. Each child brought a unique mix of joy and challenge, and Adam and Eve strove to teach them the values of responsibility, hard work, and faith. However, with knowledge also came discord. Their sons, Cain and Abel, grew up with opposite personalities. Abel, the shepherd, found peace in the fields with his sheep, while Cain, the farmer, struggled against the earth to eke out a living. One day, during an offering to the Creator, jealousy overtook Cain, for his brother's offering was favored over his own. In a fit of rage, Cain committed the irreversible and killed Abel. It was humanity's first act of violence and deeply scarred Adam and Eve. Grief and guilt overwhelmed them, but they also learned that forgiveness and redemption were possible. They continued to live, love, and hope, passing on the lessons of their mistakes and successes to their descendants. As the years passed, Adam and Eve saw their family grow. They had many children, who in turn had their own families, thus populating the earth with their descendants. Each generation brought new stories, new challenges, and new victories. Among their descendants was a man named Noah, known for his righteousness and unwavering faith. The world around him had become corrupt and full of violence, but Noah remained true to his principles and the teachings of his ancestors. One day, the Creator spoke to Noah and commanded him to build an ark to save his family and a pair of every animal species from the imminent flood that would cleanse the earth. Noah, with the help of his sons, undertook this colossal task. He was mocked by others, but his faith did not waver. When the waters rose and covered the earth, Noah's ark floated and became a symbol of hope and renewal. After many months, the waters receded, and Noah, his family, and the animals emerged from the ark to begin a new life in a transformed world. They planted vineyards, harvested fruits, and gave thanks for their salvation. A rainbow appeared in the sky as a sign of the eternal covenant between the Creator and all life on earth, promising that such a flood would never happen again. In the times that followed, the earth repopulated. Noah's descendants spread to the four corners of the world, each carrying a part of humanity's story. Languages diversified, cultures developed, and civilizations rose. Among these people was Abram, a man of faith and integrity. He was called by the Creator to leave his homeland for a promised land, a place where his descendants would become a great nation. With his wife Sarai and his nephew Lot, Abram embarked on a long journey, guided by the stars and the promise of a blessed future. Over the years, Abram, who was renamed Abraham, became the father of many nations. His faith was tested many times, but he remained true to his promise. His wife Sarai, renamed Sarah, bore Isaac in her old age, proving that nothing is impossible for the Creator. Isaac grew up and had two sons, Esau and Jacob. Jacob, later called Israel, had 12 sons who became the patriarchs of the 12 tribes of Israel. Among them was Joseph, sold into slavery by his brothers, who rose to become the savior of his family during a great famine. This chain of events, of kept promises and unwavering faith, formed the foundation of the history of Israel and the relationship between the Creator and His people. Each generation made its contribution to the story, weaving a rich and complex narrative that continues to inspire millions around the world. The story continues with Joseph, who, after being sold into slavery, became the governor of Egypt. His wisdom and foresight saved not only Egypt from a devastating famine but also his own family, who came to seek refuge in this foreign land. Years later, the descendants of Jacob, known as the Israelites, multiplied in Egypt. But over time, they were enslaved by a pharaoh fearful of their growing numbers. It was then that Moses, an Israelite raised as an Egyptian prince, was called to free his people from oppression. After a series of spectacular plagues and the miraculous crossing of the Red Sea, Moses led the Israelites out of Egypt. At Mount Sinai, he received the 10 Commandments, divine laws that guided the people towards a life of justice and piety. The Israelites wandered for 40 years in the desert, learning to trust their Creator for their daily sustenance. Despite the trials, they were finally led to the Promised Land, a place where they could establish a nation according to the principles given by Moses. As generations passed, the stories of the patriarchs and matriarchs were woven into the fabric of human history. Each story carried seeds of wisdom, lessons of courage, and examples of unwavering faith. In the lineage of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob stood a king named David, a shepherd who became a monarch. His life was marked by triumphs and trials, acts of bravery and moments of weakness. But above all, David was known for his heart, which, despite its imperfections, always sought to please his Creator. Under David's reign, Israel experienced a period of prosperity and expansion. But it was also a time of conflicts and reconciliation. David's greatest achievement was perhaps the planning of the construction of a temple, a holy place where the people could worship and offer sacrifices. After David, his son Solomon took the throne. Solomon was known for his unparalleled wisdom, which attracted people from all nations to hear his words. Under his leadership, the Temple of Jerusalem was built, and Israel reached the peak of its glory. But with greatness also came division. After Solomon's death, the kingdom split in two, and the sons of Israel faced new challenges. Prophets arose, warning the people to return to justice and faithfulness, but their words were often ignored. Over time, the Israelites were conquered and taken into exile. However, even in trial, they never lost hope. They remembered the promises made to their ancestors and believed in the coming of a Messiah who would restore their nation and bring peace to the world. Through the centuries, the descendants of Abraham continued to tell the stories of their ancestors, passing on lessons of faith, courage, and perseverance. These tales became the foundations of many traditions and beliefs, influencing generations around the world. In these stories, we find characters like Ruth, a foreign woman who embraced the faith of Israel and became the great-grandmother of King David. Her loyalty and love for her mother-in-law Naomi are examples of family devotion and kindness. There is also the story of Esther, a Jewish queen who used her influence to save her people from destruction. Her courage and cunning are celebrated every year during the festival of Purim, reminding everyone that even in the darkest moments, a single act of bravery can change the course of history. And then there are the prophets, men and women who, despite opposition and danger, spoke boldly in the name of justice and truth. Their words continue to resonate, calling us to act with integrity and seek peace. The story of humanity, as told in sacred texts, never really stops. It continues through the ages, each generation adding its own page to the great book of life. In ancient times, after the prophets, came a period of waiting and hope. The people awaited a Messiah who would bring peace and justice. And in the fullness of time, according to the beliefs of many faithful, this Messiah arrived in the form of Jesus of Nazareth. His life was an example of unconditional love and service. His teachings, parables, and miracles touched many hearts and overturned established norms. He preached reconciliation, forgiveness, and loving one's neighbor as oneself. The end of his earthly life, marked by the crucifixion, was followed by what many consider the greatest miracle, the resurrection. This definitive moment changed the course of history and inspired the formation of a new faith that spread across the world. Jesus' disciples, driven by their faith in his resurrection, shared his message throughout the nations. Communities formed, churches were built, and the writings of his teachings in. As we journey through these incredible stories, from the dawn of creation in Genesis to the transformative events of the New Testament, we witness a tapestry of faith, courage, and divine intervention. From Adam and Eve's first steps in the Garden of Eden to Moses leading the Israelites out of Egypt, from King David's reign to the wisdom of Solomon, and ultimately to the life and teachings of Jesus Christ, these narratives have shaped our beliefs and traditions in profound ways. Each story carries timeless lessons, reflecting the enduring human spirit and the unwavering faith that has guided countless generations. These tales are not just historical accounts but living messages that continue to inspire and guide us today. But our journey doesn't end here. There's so much more to explore and learn from these ancient narratives that remain as relevant now as they were thousands of years ago. If you've enjoyed this episode, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel. By subscribing, you'll be the first to know when we release our next episode. Join our community as we delve deeper into the stories that have shaped our world and continue to touch our lives in meaningful ways. Stay tuned for the next episode, where we will uncover more fascinating tales and timeless lessons from the scriptures. Thank you for watching, and remember to share this video with your friends and family. Let's spread the wisdom and inspiration of these stories together. See you in the next episode. God bless you.